Okay, I just read the comment. My apologies. Okay, a tiny technical problem. Thank you very much to all the audience. Welcome to the second session of the ELT Training Sessions 2026, organized by SBS Librería Internacional in partnership with Ricardo Palma University and its language center, Idiomas Ricardo Palma. My name is Indira Leon, and I will be your host for today's event. For those joining us for the first time, allow me to briefly introduce the ELT Training Sessions. These professional development workshops are designed for English teachers seeking to enrich and enhance their teaching practice. Our goal is to explore a wide range of topics related to methodology, current trends in language teaching, and other key areas that help improve the quality of English instruction. At this point, I would like to invite you to discover SBS Librería Internacional with the following video. Thanks.
SBS, Librería Internacional, ha sido el pilar de la educación y el aprendizaje de idiomas extranjeros en el Perú. Nuestra destacada trayectoria y firme compromiso nos han permitido establecer alianzas con editoriales de renombre mundial, como Oxford University Press, Pearson, Cambridge, National Geographic Learning, Penguin Random House, Planeta, entre otras. Además de contar con nuestro propio sello, SBS Editorial, estas colaboraciones nos capacitan para ofrecer una selección sin igual de títulos, que abarcan desde textos académicos especializados hasta las últimas novedades literarias. Con 15 librerías en las principales ciudades del país y una plataforma en línea que extiende nuestro alcance a nivel nacional e internacional, no solo proporcionamos contenidos, sino que también brindamos una experiencia personalizada en cada compra. Nuestra oferta incluye una amplia variedad de recursos en enseñanza de idiomas, ciencias sociales, literatura, infantil, negocios, diseñados para estudiantes, docentes y apasionados del conocimiento. Con el programa SBS Más Educación, nos especializamos en la capacitación de docentes de idiomas. Colaboramos con figuras reconocidas en la enseñanza de idiomas para ofrecer formación avanzada en metodologías pedagógicas. Nuestro enfoque no solo mejora la enseñanza de los idiomas, sino que también abre puertas a un mundo de oportunidades. Capacitamos a educadores para que a su vez puedan preparar a sus alumnos para el futuro. Contamos con una variedad de programas, como ELT Training Sessions y el TDC Teaching Development Conference, que abarcan tanto formaciones presenciales como capacitaciones virtuales. En SBS Librería Internacional, creemos firmemente que la educación y la cultura son fundamentales para una sociedad próspera. Nos esforzamos por impulsar un cambio positivo y construir un futuro lleno de posibilidades para el Perú y el mundo.
Thank you all at the backstage. Ricardo Palma University and SBS Librería Internacional are strategic partners and have worked together in making these academic sessions possible. Ricardo Palma University is a higher education leading institution. Throughout our 56-year history, we have continually adapted to a rapidly changing world. Being a multidisciplinary university, we promote humanism and professional success. With a specialization program for teachers of English, we prepare highly qualified teachers who contribute to the so needed educational transformation in our country. Ricardo Palma University, Education for a Culture of Peace. To learn more about Ricardo Palma University and its contribution to teacher training in ELT, let's watch the following video. Thanks.
¿Eres profesor de inglés y buscas que tus estudiantes dominen el idioma? El programa de especialización en enseñanza del idioma inglés de la Universidad Ricardo Palma, PEI, es para ti. Está dirigido a profesores que buscan mejorar sus perspectivas laborales y liderar en la enseñanza de inglés. El contenido del programa ha sido especialmente diseñado para que domines los procesos de enseñanza-aprendizaje de inglés en la era digital. Como estudiante del PEI, tienes acceso a conferencias a cargo de expositores internacionales del más alto nivel. Recibes el material y plataforma digital de forma gratuita. Lo último en la enseñanza del inglés en el programa más completo del mercado. Gracias a su doble certificación, accedes al examen internacional TOEFL ITP de manera gratuita. Cuentas además con una biblioteca exclusiva y préstamo de libros. El programa te permitirá trabajar con niños, jóvenes y adultos. Vive una experiencia única. Las inscripciones ya están abiertas. Únete al PEI y conviértete en líder en esta fascinante área de la educación.
Thank you for the video. Now, an important announcement. The link to register your attendance will appear near the end of today's session. Please make sure you click on the link and complete the attendance form. The certificates will be sent by email within 10 business days, together with a summary of Mr. Schwarzenberg's material. Now it is my pleasure to introduce Simon Schwarzenberg. Simon Schwarzenberg graduated from the English teaching program for primary and secondary education at Andrés Bello University in Chile. He furthered his studies abroad by completing an academic English course at Brigham Young University in Utah, USA. In 2019, he moved to Peru to pursue a specialization program in English language teaching, PEI, at Ricardo Palma University. He has a finished master's degree in higher education at Ricardo Palma University and holds international certifications such as CAE, TOEFL ITP, MED, TKT, and more. Simon is a specialist in new technologies for education and digital innovation in ELT. He currently works as an academic support at the Language Center of Ricardo Palma University and as a teacher trainer for the specialization program in English language teaching in charge of Module 5, Digital Resources and AI in English language teaching. Simon, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Indira, for the lovely introduction. And thank you, everyone, for jumping in and joining us today. Before I start, I just want to, say that I feel free to use the chat box and leave your comments. I will ask for your participation for some of your experiences as English teachers during the conference. So I'm stoked to be here today, especially because we'll talk about this very important topic, which is how artificial intelligence is completely reshaping the landscape of English language teaching today. And we hear the words AI a lot, the word innovation a lot. So tonight, we are going to look at the real picture from our perspective, from a teacher's perspective, and we're going to dive into what digital innovation actually means and how we can apply it in our classrooms. Before we kick things off, I want to say thank you to the team at SBS Librería Internacional and the director of the specialization program, Monica Melendez, for helping me outline this session for you all. So I will be reading the comments. And there's a slight delay, but that will not stop us from reading each other. So I will give you some time to provide some of your ideas, but we're gonna interact. We're gonna have fun. This is gonna be a fun session, which is part two. This is actually very connected to the previous session that was held last month. So please, before I give you the aims of the session, write in the comments where you're from, maybe your school, your institution. Did you watch the first ELT session? And because they're linked, right? Now, in the meantime, and I'm gonna be reading you your comments. Today, we're going to identify and analyze some of the ethical risks associated with AI in English language teaching. We're also going to put into practice a framework, which is actually adaptable for you. and for responsible AI integration in the English classroom. And we're going to use AI in an innovative way that prioritizes critical thinking. So that's what we're going to do. Let me take a look at the comments. We have people from Piura, people from Lima, someone from Arequipa. Very good. Um, Excellent. Very, very good. I am excited. Let's begin. Let's talk about innovation first. And before I introduce and I give you my definition, I want to hear from you. When you hear the word innovation in ELT, specifically in ELT, what is the first thing that comes to your mind? So go ahead, type in the chat. Don't think too much about it. Just give me your raw, honest thoughts, opinions about this. Does it mean to innovate? Is it to to use a smart board, to use your phone in class, to I don't know, to use virtual reality? Or is it just finding a way to get 35, 40 students to actually speak English? What do you think about that? Someone says, Rosalu says, create motivation. New strategies, says Leslie, new strategies to teach. Abby Munoz says, outside the box, thinking for a specific purpose. I like that one. Geraldine says, to do things in a creative way. I really like that. New alternatives for my class session. Mhm. To bring the latest trends about technology and teaching into our classrooms. New approaches. Very good. You guys have given me a lot of things that we're actually gonna tackle in this session. Um, let's take a look at this. Teresa Amabile is a professor at Harvard Business School, and she connected innovation with, or she connected it to creativity. And she says that creativity is the production of novel and useful ideas in any domain, while innovation is the successful implementation of creative ideas within an organization. That made sense, but I wanted to bring it, more towards the ELT world, the world we're in as English teachers. And based on current global frameworks from UNESCO and other modern language teaching research, I want to propose a very specific definition for you. You can agree or disagree with me. It's fine. This is a work in progress. Um, and I put over here, innovation in ELT is the ethical integration of digital technologies to create more personalized, inclusive, and effective language learning experiences that prioritize human interaction. Now, let's unpack this. Notice that it doesn't say every student needs an iPad or every student needs a computer in the class. It says effective and personalized. So innovation might just mean using an AI tool on your laptop, for example, 10 minutes at night when you're preparing your lesson to generate maybe 3 different reading levels. In a class, we know that students sometimes have different levels. They're not all, if you're teaching I don't know, seventh grade, then not all of them have the same level. Not all of them are A1. Maybe there's A1, A2. Maybe there's a B1 over there. Maybe there's a B2 over there. So that time, those 10 minutes at night before you go to bed and you're generating some ideas, you can generate that same, let's say, reading for different levels. So they all have the same content, but delivered to them in a different way. So innovation doesn't have to be mind blowing. It needs to be functional. It needs to work. So innovation means that using technology behind the scenes to have your time or to save your time, that's gonna help you, and you will have more energy. Actually, AI can, saves a lot of time. So we are prioritizing the human bond over automated worksheets and all of that. Let me take a look at the comments. Yes, technology helps us to engage and manage interactive way. Absolutely, yes. Sylvia says, I try to use technology to get my classes interesting. Absolutely, yes. And we're actually going to mention that, how we can make our classes more interactive. I'm going to show you a couple of tools also that can help you with that. Now, before we watch a short video, I want to talk about Professor Keith McCormick. He's currently a professor at the University of Virginia's Darden Business School, and he is huge in the tech world, especially on LinkedIn. So if maybe you can follow him on LinkedIn. Do you even use LinkedIn, that social media, for professional purposes, academic, hopefully? Now, what I love about his talk, he gave a TED talk, and I thought it was really, really interesting. And that's why I wanted to share with you all. He says that he talks about the human mind versus the machines. And in the excerpt that I'm going to show you, he talks about this eureka moment, or this aha moment that you probably, that feeling. You know that feeling when something clicks, like, yeah, like it's like a realization of something. It's like it's a flash, right, of insight, that an idea clicks. So he explains in this TED talk. We're going to watch a very short excerpt. He explains why generative AI can help us brainstorm 100 of ideas in seconds, but this aha moment, or this eureka moment, is innately, and I would say uniquely human. So let's take a look. Now, I put a paperclip. You will see why I pasted that paperclip over there. He mentions that in the video. So let's watch it.
Process. I like to call it a ideation, because it seems AI can do it better than most of us. We know this because a study compared the performance of 6 Gen AI chat apps to that of 100 humans in the alternate uses test. This asks you to generate as many uses as possible for an object, like a paperclip. The best human responses outperformed AI, but AI outperformed 91% of the study participants. In this way, it seems AI can be a valuable assistant for intuition. But somehow I suspect that eureka insightful moments may be uniquely human, perhaps arising from a connection with something ineffable, maybe what creative artists and musicians refer to as their muse. Sometimes our intuition will help us find unusual connections and inspire us in surprising ways or at unexpected times. I find that notion strangely reassuring.
All right. So yes, generative AI can think faster than us, and yes, it might outperform 91% of us when we are brainstorming, for example. If I ask all of you, give me all of the uses of a paperclip, uh, I'm pretty sure the AI or Gen AI will be way faster. So it outperforms 90% of us, right? When it comes to raw, rapid brainstorming. However, the we have to acknowledge that it's incredibly valuable. I cannot compete against Gen AI. However, it will never have that eureka moment, that click. It can generate lists of ideas at lightning speed, but it lacks the deep, this unconscious human spark that connects the dots, and and then we are, we have that insight, this aha moment. It's something that it cannot be replicated by generative AI. So the World Economic Forum highlighted in their recent guidelines on social innovation education that they identified three essential pillars that we must embed in our classrooms. We have empathy, we have locus of control, and then speculative thinking. Let's briefly talk about them, and then maybe in the meantime, you can. I see that you're writing you're typing in the chat box. That's great. Um, let's start with empathy. Let's encourage empathy. How can we do it? First, the World Economic Forum explains that we need to look at a social problem not just as an outsider, but from a deeply personal standpoint. So in that case, as language teachers, we can have our students write reflective essays, paragraphs, articles, why not? Or using role plays, potential interventions within their local community so they feel part of it. When we talk about the locus of control, it's actually finding this locus of control. The locus of control is a person's belief about who is in charge of their destiny. So, for example, students with a high internal locus of control believe that their success or failure comes from their own personal efforts. So, students with a low locus of control feel like passive victims of luck. So in social innovation, what we want is that students to realize that their individual or innovative actions can bring positive change in the communities, sometimes in the world. We can invite guest speakers, for example, if we can, or maybe watching a TED Talk. I love watching TED Talks. I feel like they're very enlightening. An excursion, maybe visit a museum, or encourage, they can volunteer somewhere. When we talk about speculative thinking, we are talking about imagination, design thinking. We're talking about urging students to explore future scenarios. The World Economic Forum actually points out that real problem solving requires looking outside of our own bubble and go beyond. Look at the problems from a different standpoint. And so we must encourage our students to collaborate, to seek answers from diverse sources. So how do we actually bring this into the classroom? We know that we want to foster, as teachers, we want to foster empathy, we want to foster a strong locus of control and speculative thinking. But practically, how can this technology serve those goals? Now, when I say technology or digital technology, I'm not talking about the most advanced technology. I know that schools or institutions, they have different backgrounds. I don't have a smart board in my class. I know that there are smart boards at the university, but it doesn't matter. I can still innovate and I can still use technology in a way that can help my students. So when we take a look at modern education tools, especially AI and digital platforms, there are three practical features that completely transform how we teach and how our students learn. The first one, and I would say, is instant feedback. Innovation gives us instant feedback, which I think now, I mean, I take it for granted, but when I was studying, maybe, I don't know, 10 years ago, when I was studying English, I didn't have that. I didn't have a machine that corrected everything. When I was doing paragraphs or when I was doing an essay at university, it's just unimaginable. I never thought that I could just, put a prompt on ChatGPT, for example, and then they would give me a whole essay that was unthinkable. So I think it's great, but we need to be careful. So traditionally, students when students used to write essays or they did grammar exercises, they had to wait days weeks, sometimes at the end of the term, at the end of the semester, to receive, the feedback, but you already forgot what you did and why you did it. In my case, every time I used to give feedback in in paper, I sometimes I miss a couple of things. I'm not perfect. I miss a comma that I didn't correct, a capital letter, a grammatical structure, an S. I mean, it happens, right? But with machines now and with Gen AI, it's gonna be easier. It's gonna be faster, but we also need to be careful. Um, Now, um, when we talk about multimodal content, every classroom has diverse learners. Some learn by reading, some some learn by listening, and some others are highly visual, for example. So innovation ensures that learning occurs through a mix of text, audio, images, videos, interactive tasks. You can vary, right? If you're teaching a unit on environmental issues, for example, instead of just handing them uh, a piece of paper with a reading or a handout, a worksheet, maybe you can use that same reading and summarize it, put it in pictures, make it a video, make it a podcast. Why not? I'm actually going to show you one app that or website that can do all that. So it's going to simplify your lives as teachers. And then finally, adaptive learning. This is perhaps the most powerful aspect of digital innovation because it tailors content to individual students' needs. And in a typical classroom, some students move fast and get bored, right? They're beyond. They're usually faster than the rest. And some students and other students need a little bit more time. They get left behind. So platforms now adjust activities based on students' performance, and they can provide content according to their level. UNESCO states that AI has transformed the traditional relationship into a teacher AI student dynamic. But think about this. I mean, for decades, education was a straight line. It was just the teacher directly to the student. This is something that I covered last conference. Today, it's more of a triangle, right? AI sits right at the table with us and with our students. They are already using it to translate. Um, Sometimes even when we don't want to. For example, in my case, when I search things on Chrome, I have it in English, but sometimes there are things that are in English and I don't want to translate them. They just do it anyway. And so yeah, that can happen. It's probably happened to you too. Because of this, UNESCO tells us that we must completely re-examine our roles. Let's take a look at this. It says, in education, AI has transformed the traditional teacher-student relationship into a teacher-AI student dynamic. This shift requires a re-examination of teachers' roles and the competencies that they need in the AI era. We're actually going to mention that in the upcoming conferences when we talk about the teachers' roles and 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 more. So you have to wait for that. So if a computer, for example, can instantly give a student a grammar rule or correct a spelling mistake, our value as teachers cannot just be about delivering rules and correcting spelling, right? We don't want to limit ourselves. We want to, you know, succeed and upgrade. We're shifting now from being a gatekeeper of information to being the guide, to being a facilitator. They love the word facilitator. To be a curator of information. Because AI can give us a lot of data, but only we can provide the human mentorship that is needed. Um, So in that way, we can, master this triangle. Let's talk about the impact. Let's talk about the impact on ELT. Before we talk about the impact, let me take a look at the comments. There are lots of comments today. There we go. Yes, we're talking about innovation, the representation. Yes, I use technology to motivate my students. Excellent. I love that you're all giving your opinion on the chat. Please go ahead, use the chat box. Don't forget to like the video as well. That's important. Now, the impact. Let's talk about this. We know that working in this triangle could be positive if we do it right. So it boils down to 3 different areas. Over here we have the areas. We have the active practice, we have accelerated support, and then we have the personalization. First, we have active practice. In a traditional 45 minutes, for example, with 30 students, how long are your classes, by the way? I just have the example of 45 minutes, but it could be more. So let's imagine 45 minutes, you have 30 students. If each student speaks 1 minute, now the class is almost over. We have 15 minutes to do what? Take the attendance. So when we talk about when we talk about active practice, there are some techniques or things that we can do in class, like work in pairs, work in groups, right? You cannot be talking to every single student, so we can do that. We have strategies. When we talk about accelerated support, we're talking about students no longer have to wait until the next class to ask you a question. I remember when I had a question and I wanted to ask my teacher, I had to wait an entire week to see my English teacher because I had a question. Now, you can just Google, and Google have this AI that already answers before you go into any article or any web page. You already have the answer. So yeah, students don't wait anymore. Everything is very fast. Everything is quick. So AI provides this just-in-time support. It helps them get unstuck immediately so they can keep moving forward instead. But we need to be careful with that. Has it happened to you that you're reading something and then you don't understand a word, and then you don't understand another word, and then there are several words that you don't understand and you're getting frustrated? So that could happen to students, right? Because they want to know right now the answer. They want to know the meaning of the word. So let's take it easy, right? Let's try to figure out if you can figure out the answer, and all of that. Finally, personalization. As teachers, we don't have the time to create 30 different lesson plans, but AI does. So it can tailor a reading exercise about the environment to match the student's interest in football, for example, or in video games, somebody else, etc. So yeah, personalization of language learning in class will motivate your students more. I read a lot of comments talking about motivation, that they use AI to motivate students, motivate them doing something that they like, bringing topics to the table that they enjoy. And maybe if I like the Beatles, which is like they're iconic, maybe the students don't listen to the Beatles. Maybe they listen to K-pop, and I don't know, maybe play a song like a BTS song. I don't know. That could motivate them. Maybe they're gonna scream. They're gonna be excited for a minute. Over here, we have 2 AI tools that will help you innovate. First, we have Notebook LM. Are you familiar with Notebook LM? Have you used it before? And then we also have Poe. Poe.com have you used that one? Right on the chat. So, Notebook LM is a website from Google. So it's linked. You already have it. If you have a Gmail account, you probably have it. Maybe you haven't used it, or maybe you have. It's basically a research assistant, and you can upload your own sources, and then you can get summaries, videos, podcasts, etc. I'm going to show you. It's free. It's available to anyone with a Google account. However, there is a premium version available. In my case, I pay for more storage. So I have like a pro account. I don't use it a lot, but I have created a few videos that I'm gonna show you in a bit. Poe, on the other hand, is it lets you talk to almost every major AI model. You can talk. Well, not directly talk, but you can receive answers from ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, etc. And you can create bots. I'm going to show you one right now. It is limited. By day. You get a certain amount of credits, and then there is a premium version available. I don't know about the prices, but you can go ahead and take a look at that. So let me share my screen over here, and there we go. Okay, so there we go. Are you guys, do you see it? Yes. No, not yet. Let's wait a second so my screen can be shared. Okay, there we go. Excellent. Here it is. This is Notebook LM. Notebook LM is a great. It's very similar to ChatGPT or any other large language model. But over here, in this case, what you can do is you can add sources. So over here we have sources. You can upload up to 50 sources, up to 50 different sources. And these sources are your own. So you can decide. In my case, I decided to talk or to do something about ELT tech approaches, right? So I have a gamification here. I have blended learning. I have computer-assisted language learning. I have computer-mediated communication and all of that. So I have lots of PDFs that I have developed myself, maybe that I have, found online. It's great. You can upload it up to 50 in the free version, up to 50, right? What happens here is you can just ask anything, and the answers will be exclusively from the sources that you have uploaded. So it won't give you crazy answers. It will give you the right answers from trusted sources. Now, what's interesting over here is that on the right part, we have the studio. And in the studio, we can create a few things. We can create summaries. We can create voice summaries. We can create videos, flashcards, mind maps, and all of that. So this is what I have. And I already created in advance. I created a video in advance because the video takes a few minutes to process. So I already did it. I'm going to show you. Here it is. The video is, of course, based on everything that I uploaded and exclusively from what I uploaded. So here it is. Then you can decide if it's good or bad. I'm just gonna say it's gonna be good. I'm not sure if you were listening to the audio, but the video has some audio. I know that you could see it, right? So there you go. If you want to create the video, the good thing about it is that you have two formats. It can be very short, or it can be more explanatory. You can actually decide the language, and you can actually decide, or you can choose the visual style. Is it gonna be classic? Is it gonna be kawaii, like anime, etc.? And whatever, or any extra details, you can just put it over here. The same happens with, over here, I can create a quiz. So I can study with this. This is great for studying. I can create a mind map. So here's the mind map, and the mind map is interactive. So this is great to innovate, right? This is a great platform to innovate. So that's one of the, I am sorry you couldn't listen to the video. So that's why I'm not going to show you the podcast, but there is one version of this that you can listen to the summary in a podcast kind of format, which is actually very, very fun. Well, I listen to podcasts, so I like the idea. If you don't, or if your students don't, maybe they're not gonna be as excited as I am. I mentioned as well Poe. This is Poe. This is what it looks like. And what I did, I created a bot. So I just clicked over there and I created a bot. This is my bot already. So if I click on edit it, then you will see how you can create one as well. So it's basically instructions, and I put over here that, would you like to practice past tenses with me? Talk to me. I'll be happy to help you practice regular and irregular verbs. So that was my Poe. So take a look at that. What I did is, once I opened the bot, it says, hello, let's practice some English today. That was my prompt. That's the way I want my bot to start the conversation. So I said, yes. And then my bot says, great, let's warm up. What did you do yesterday? And I said, I eat lunch. And then they reply, good try. We need to change the verb to the past tense. Eat is an irregular verb. The past form is ate. So you can say, I ate lunch. Now you try. What did you eat? What did you eat for lunch yesterday? So that's a great way to practice specific things for students. Unfortunately, Poe is not 100% free. We have credits every day, so they reset every 24 hours. However, I do think it's fantastic. What do you think? Let me know. I want to read your ideas. Very interesting. Yes, I think it's great. When I made the mistake, I was just testing and trying Poe. Let's see if Poe corrects me, and it did. So it was great. It was amazing. So let's go back to my presentation. There we go. All right. In the meantime, let's take a look at the comments. Great. Yes, I will try it. Yes, Kathy, try it. Elsie, yes, it's a great tool. It can help students. You can actually send them the link of the Poe, and they will be able to write and talk academically with the bot. So it's amazing. Yeah, it's really, really good. This is what I want, said someone. Yes, absolutely. All right, let's continue with the presentation. All right, there we go. So so Notebook LM, try it if you haven't done it yet, and Poe as well. Please go ahead and try it. Now, I entered a few prompts. So it's very, very important for you to remember our prompting structure that we learned in our last conference, right? We talked about the ROSF structure. We have those 5 essential steps to creating a very effective AI prompt. We have the role, we have the objective, we have the context, we have the example, and we have the format. So to get the absolute best results out of an AI, we shouldn't just type a random question. We need to be a little bit more structured, right? Over here is an example of a prompt. So this is a prompt. Now, there's no limit. So you can actually, the more specific you are with the prompt, the better it will be for the large language model to give you an answer, a more precise answer. So this is what I did with my prompt. I was creating lesson plans. Does your school ask you to give lesson plans? So do you have to plan your classes, like each individual class? Prompting is great, and I think that in that sense, AI has helped teachers so much, because I know how time-consuming it was to create lots of planning for it, especially if you have lots of different courses, right? Or grades. So this was my prompt. These are the things that you can actually change if you want to use my prompt. So I can give you my prompt. My prompt is yours now. Well, it's gonna stay on YouTube, so you can use it. Act as an expert ELT lesson designer. Your goal is to create an engaging 90-minute. You can say 45, you can say 30, you can say, I don't know, 120 minutes. I don't know how long your lessons are. And you can use it, right? This was for a B1 level. They were talking about the past, and they were reviewing used to and didn't used to. So this is great. You can easily swap out the highlighted variables and, make it your own. Now, so this is what I did actually when I was writing the prompt. And I used Gemini. I don't use ChatGPT anymore. I have Gemini for like the pro version, because I paid for it. So this is basically what it gave me when I put this prompt, and I already have my lesson plan. This is how I like my lesson plan to be, with the interaction patterns, what I'm going to be evaluating, how much time should I devote to every stage of the lesson, and all of that. So I'm pretty sure you have done it before. If you haven't, it's a great idea to start. So how can we use this Notebook LM or Poe in your lessons or outside your lessons? You can use Notebook LM to generate videos and audios before the class, and maybe show them in the class, or maybe choosing those specific videos and making them homework, or assign them as extra practice. I don't like the word homework. I use assignment. You can create grounded tutors, of course, right? With those specific sources, you get specific results. I actually used to do it for my thesis. Only those sources. I only retrieved information from those sources. And then you can actually produce instant study guides. You have questions, flashcards, and more. Poe, on the other hand, will allow you to build custom speaking bots. It can facilitate Socratic debates. And you can actually compare elite models. I didn't mention that, but Poe is like a hub of Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini, etc. So you find all major large language models in there, and then you can actually compare their answers. So yeah, it's quite interesting, especially if you're more into if you work with a lot of data, that's work. It works great for you. Now, all of these contents and more are part of the specialization program for English language teaching. We actually started in May, this month, a few weeks ago. But of course, these training sessions are meant to teach you how to use websites or apps or AI tools rather than, just learning how to choose the right tool. We're not just talking about tools here. We're talking about how to use them, when to use them, for what purpose we're using those tools, and that's actually something that we review very, deeply in the program. Obviously, always putting AI at the service of education and human well-being. So let's move on to our second part of the conference. Over here, we're going to talk about some of the ethical problems of using AI. What are some of these ethical problems? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments, what do you think are some of these ethical problems? Up to this point, we have already talked about how incredibly powerful AI can be for engineering lessons or for saving time, for engaging our students. But as educators, we cannot talk about innovation without also talking about responsibility. So we need to integrate all of this, all of our tools, all of these tools into our classrooms, but we need to pause and think about ethical problems, risks. Intellectual property, said someone. Very good. Marilyn says, are we relying too much on AI? That's actually the question. Oh, that's actually the question that I wanted to start with. So very good. Great minds think alike. So I'm with you on that one. Teachers stop thinking and limit their creativity. Okay, so it can limit our creativity. I like your answers. Let's see. The students' dependence. Yes, this has become we have become, like, we cannot do anything without asking ChatGPT first. Like, I think it's great. I think this text is great, but let me go to Gemini and see what my best friend ChatGPT or Gemini think. Data privacy, very good. Moral principles. Oh, this is getting interesting. The student used it too much. Okay, very good. Excellent. I love all of your ideas. Let's move on. I dropped my pen. Let's talk about ethical principles for AI integration. We're going to talk about 4 points. The first one is going to be ethical principles that should guide the use of AI. What are some of these ethical principles? I will let you know in a minute. I will also tell you about the guidelines for the use of AI. What are some of these guidelines? What are the things that we need to consider? What are the things that we need to do? What are the possible uses of AI in your classes? Or I would say rather outside of your classes, maybe not in your class per se, maybe before, maybe after. And the unethical actions in the use of AI, which are the things that we're not going to do, and we need to make sure that students are not going to do. Let's take a look at this. To navigate these challenges of, the ethical principles that should guide the use of AI, we shouldn't just guess at what's right or what's wrong. Instead, we need a solid framework. And here are the core ethical principles that should guide the use of AI. First, we have human dignity and autonomy. First and foremost, AI must always serve the human experience, not replace it. We're not trying to replace it. Um, we must ensure respect and fair treatment for everybody, for all individuals, for all students in our classrooms. Using AI to empower students and teachers to make informed decisions rather than just letting algorithms dictate their educational path. So we need to be very careful with algorithms. That's something that we have covered a little bit before, and we need to be careful with our algorithm. Let's talk about non-maleficence and security. This talks about safety. We have a fundamental duty over here to avoid harm, both physical and psychological. We're actually going to talk about, and we're going to briefly mention that in a minute when we talk about the unethical uses. In a digital, when in a digital space, in a digital world, that means protecting students' data fiercely. Actually, when you fill in any type of form, so usually at the end or at the bottom of the form, you have to give your consent of your data. But sometimes they also promise or they assure you that nothing's gonna help. Your data is not gonna be leaked, right? So yeah, we need to be careful with that. When we talk about equity and diversity, we should know that AI should bridge gaps, but not widen them, not the opposite. So we must use these tools to promote inclusion and respect for diversity, of course. We can also ensure that students from all linguistic and cultural backgrounds have equal, fair access to the benefits of technology. This might sound a little bit too idealistic, maybe, but this is what we're trying to aim. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but hopefully we can, work towards it. Let's talk about transparency and truthfulness. We can't treat AI like magic or like a black box. We need to understand how this works. This is not magic. Someone did something, so this works. So we need to be completely honest about their limitations. This means avoiding deception, calling out biases. We talked about biases in the previous conference. We need to teach our students to critically verify everything. And I know that sometimes AI can hallucinate. Sometimes AI can be freed from its limitations. So what we're trying to do over here is to let everyone know, well, not just our students, but teachers as well. If you talk to your colleagues about this, that will be a great conversation that you could have, outside of the class. So yes. And the last one is responsibility and well-being. Finally, humans must always remain in the driver's seat. We cannot just step back and just leave it to the AI. This is not going to happen. We can't let that happen. So we must take absolute accountability for AI decisions, for outcomes. Our goal is to ensure that we have a social environmental well-being using AI for the common good as support. And so that's going to be a long-term sustainability. If we talk about the guidelines for the use of AI, if we're talking about the guidelines for the use of AI, we have to think of these points as the explicit ground rules for any AI integrated classroom. For example, when we talk about skill development, it says over there, enhancing AI related skills. Yes, this can actually be linked to the tool awareness. If students are going to use AI, they must use it to enhance their skills, not bypassing learning. It's not just, oh, I'm too lazy, I don't want to think. I will let ChatGPT think for me. This cannot be happening. So we're not going to bypass learning. We need to work with it. So this requires continuous tool awareness, understanding that what an AI engine is capable of, but more importantly, realizing that the limitations, and sometimes their ideas, or the ideas that this large language model is giving me, are not the ideas that I was thinking of. So yeah, I need to change it. You need to put your heart in it, your soul. As once I read someone on LinkedIn that was talking about, whenever ChatGPT wrote something, it didn't have a soul. So when he modified it, then it had his soul on it. So I thought it was a great metaphor. Um, let's talk about professor approval and academic integrity. Trust is non-negotiable over here. Students must obtain explicit instructor consent before using AI. If you tell your students, okay, it is okay to use AI, perfect, right? If you tell your students you cannot use AI for this assignment, then you can't, right? They need to maintain, honesty. They need to be ethical. We must ensure that AI remains a learning catalyst rather than just plagiarism. That's what we don't want. In my virtual classes, when a student that is not doing very well during the semester and delivers a perfect essay or article, it's suspicious, right? You know your students very well. So that's why we have found some techniques. Let's say it. For example, I tell my students that they have to write, they have to be handwritten, and they have to take a picture and send it to me, and then we can check that. Cameras on, maybe everybody writing in one document, so I see that the progress. If they're in their houses and if it is virtual, it's very hard. It's one of those new challenges. There are new platforms, however, that they count, for example, every second that you are outside of the tab. So for example, you are watching my conference on YouTube, right? And these platforms, if you receive a message, for example, and you go to WhatsApp, you're gonna leave YouTube, right? So the platform knows and tells me how many seconds, how many minutes you spent outside of this page, in this case YouTube. So this is the future, right? That's gonna happen, hopefully, maybe. I know that some web pages already have that. Some what are they called? Some yeah, I don't forget. I forgot the word, but yeah, some of them are using it. So it's great. I think it's good to know that the students are not using extra help or help that you didn't ask for. Proper citation and team transparency. If AI helped you, for example, citing a book or an academic author, the students must give proper credit. The students cannot take the credit for it, something that is AI generated. So if they're working on a group project, for example, they need to be total team transparency. So everyone agrees on how and where AI is being utilized. And then, this was adapted from a quick guide from Tecnológico de Monterrey, and that was inspired by the UNESCO one. I thought it was very, very clear and very complete. Let's talk about some unethical actions in the use of AI, and I'm going to ask you, what teachers English teachers in the chat watching me right now live, what do you consider unethical actions in the use of AI? Because when we talk about unethical actions, it all boils down to not declaring the use of AI. But can you give me like examples or things that have happened to you? Maybe you have some experiences. Yeah, Proctor. Yes. Uh-huh. Oh, I'm reading the comments now. Someone saying that some platforms for proctoring have that feature, right? Yes. Uh, ab- Absolutely. Very good. Any ideas? So let's take a look at this. This is the first unethical action in the use of AI that we don't want. We don't want to plagiarize. We don't want that to happen. There are certain things that sometimes it's obvious. Have you ever copied something from ChatGPT and you have pasted it on Gmail, for example, or in a document? They have a specific format and they actually have a highlight, like a highlighting thing. And I have seen it a lot of times. Some teachers don't realize, but I have noticed it, and we need to be careful with that. We need to be very careful. Um, I know that there are also some AI detectors, and I know that in some school, maybe some universities have used it, and if it is considered AI generated, it's gonna be flagged. So we don't want that to happen. In English classes, sometimes the entire point of an essay is to practice syntax, grammar, lexical range. I always tell my students that if I don't see any mistakes, then I don't have any feedback to give them. I'm just gonna congratulate them, but I know that they're still struggling in certain areas, so they need to be, you know, I try to convince them that it's not the end of the world. It's okay if it's 18 and not 20. So when a student uses a tool to artificially shift vocabulary, for example, just to beat a detector, they skip the actual cognitive struggle of this language acquisition process. And it's dangerous because it creates a gap, and students might send those flawless essays and paragraphs and texts that are gonna be in advanced prose. But I know it wasn't created by them. So what I want is their true, raw, actual learning in paper, so I can read them and I can give them feedback. So I know their weaknesses, right? Very good. Now, what we don't want is falsifying documents or formats. I mentioned it before in I think in our previous conference that I asked Gemini to. So I had a picture taken by someone. All right. So there was a logo over there, and I didn't want the logo. I wanted my picture without it. So I asked ChatGPT or Gemini, I don't remember which one, to erase it. And I was like, erase it. It's my picture. And we were fighting because Gemini was like, no, I cannot. I mean, it's not yours. It's from somebody else. I cannot erase this. So, I mean, it cannot falsify documents, but there are ways. There are ways because I think I finally did it. I apologize but it was my picture. um, so over here we have, for example, the typical watermark. There's something we can do over here. It's not gonna be. I'm not giving you ideas. This is what you shouldn't do, because of course some pictures, some photos are paid. You have to pay for it. right? What you can, I mean, this is terrible, but there are also like possibilities of falsifying documents. However, there sometimes it's noticeable. Sometimes it's like you can see that. The idea is to not manipulate or alter any data, images, videos, audio without the author's consent. The students are now using AI to scrub digital watermarks, um, or these fake IDs that are very popular in the US. So we are no longer just grading language skills. Institutions are now being forced to act as digital forensic, I don't know, investigators, right? Now we're being detectives, um, just to prove that a document is real or not. Now, we're not going to be altering reality. Let's not do that. Over here, we have had serious cases of deep fake. Especially in the US, I've read a lot of different articles and newspapers talking about this and used for cyberbullying, which I think it's terrible. And I think that I showed you this once, but this would also be altering reality. And I'm gonna show you this video. This is me, by the way, speaking French. I do not speak French, so let's take a look at this.
Dans le monde hyper connecté d'aujourd'hui et avec l'essor rapide de l'IA, il est facile de penser que tout enseignement doit nécessairement inclure des outils.
So look, I'm altering reality because I do not speak French. I did this with Hey Gen. It's an app that can help you that. Of course, if it's used for for the good of the society, it's great, right? But it could also be used to make harm or to do harm to others, and that's what we don't want. So that's exactly why we cannot treat AI literacy as just a technical skill. People are speaking French. I do not speak French. I don't remember what I said in the video. I just remember
Numérique.
I was talking about my conference. I think I was reading my abstract. But this is just exactly why we need to be careful. We must build a fierce culture of digital responsibility, because if we leave it unchecked, then these tools, they might threaten our academic integrity. We don't want that to happen, of course. If you guys understood what I said in the video, please let me know. Now, this is what we don't want to happen as well. It's an unethical action. Misinterpreting skills and knowledge. So we need to be honest about our own strengths, about our weaknesses. It's okay if it's not perfect. AI should not be used to gain unfair academic advantage. Let's say you're applying to university and you need to create an essay, and you do it all with generative AI. That's not ethical. It's not good. Students rely on ChatGPT, for example, too much to generate their thoughts. It creates a complete illusion of competence, and they might submit highly advanced, sometimes flawless language output. It doesn't work like that. This reminded me actually of that episode. I don't know if you guys have seen the oddly the fairy odd parents. This is that Timmy and there's an episode. I was doing this and I just remembered that there's this one episode where Timmy, this is Timmy. I saw that many years ago. I don't know how it clicked, and I remember that. But Timmy uses his magic to and to wish that he knew everything about about everybody, about everything. And so he's like, he's super intelligent, and then he is faced, like, he has to do an exam, and he's very sure, he's like, I'm gonna pass that, I'm gonna get an A plus, I'm the best. And once he starts doing it, he cannot, right? The godparents tell him that it's unethical. It's like it goes against the moral code. So yeah, it's not good, right? I just remember that. Maybe if you have seen the the episode, you know what I'm talking about. Now, this is also what we don't want, to spread biases. We do not want to violate human dignity or engage in discrimination. Um, we don't want to, or want to avoid sharing information derived from AI systems, I'm sorry, that, I don't know, contain stereotypes, prejudice, cultural biases. We don't want that to happen. So, and this happens when teachers or institutions blindly rely on AI and they do not check their prompts. That's why prompting is so important, and that's why we have this ROSEF framework. So yes, it's very important to do that. Now, let's talk about the possible uses of AI in your classes. First of all, we can improve quality. Instead of just checking basic spelling, you can actually paste the students' drafts. Let's imagine students give you the drafts of their compositions, and you can actually, send them to a large language model to identify, I don't know, repetitive vocabulary, weak sentences. Um, you can help them refine their academic style, etc. Checking text similarities. You can actually you can protect academic integrity before you spend time grading. You can actually process the submissions through tools. Someone in the chat mentioned it. Turnitin, ChatGPT, or any other, right? To verify whether the work is genuinely the students produced or if it's AI generated. Also, finding reliable sources. If you need to back up a lesson or a paper with real data, then you can use, I don't know, you can look for PDFs, you can use Notebook LM, Perplexity. There's so many different apps and websites that can help you do that. Creating content, why not? We have lots of AI that can help you create content. I did some of these graphs with Napkin AI. I showed that in the past. We mentioned Suno in the past. Canva AI, it has an AI version. Actually, a lot of the websites that we used to use at the beginning of the pandemic, like WordWall has an AI version now, and a lot more. To organize ideas, right? When managing a massive curriculum or a syllabus, right? You can also use Notebook LM to map out units. You can actually ask and receive feedback from it, so it's great. And to generate ideas, right? You can use any prompts. There are lots of prompts out there that can help you. I just gave you a prompt. You can use it to create a lesson plan. I usually use prompts to generate warm-up activities or wrap-up activities. During the presentation practice production stage, I'm good, but I always want to innovate when I'm doing my warm-up, so it's more fun, so it's more dynamic, so students like it, so I can personalize it, and all those kinds of things. So everything that I showed it's part of this PDF that I created for for Module 5 of the specialization program in English language teaching. Like Indira mentioned in the beginning, I am in charge of Module 5. It's called Digital Resources and AI in ELT. So yeah, this is what I give my students. I cannot give it to you right now, but I explained everything, so you kind of have it. Well, the information is out there. It's all inspired by the UNESCO framework, so you can take a look at that. Now, let's take a look at some of the conclusions for this conference. Ethical AI integration requires active guidance and clear classroom guardrails, not tech avoidance. So we need to be very explicit with our students. And AI serves as an assistant, but empathy, pedagogical intent, and final evaluation must remain strictly human. So we always decide. We have the last say, right? And true innovation avoids basic content generation to focus on deep, context-aware student personalization. So personalization, I would say, is the core of this innovation process. And of course, our primary role must shift from evaluating simple student output to teaching source and data validation. So I found this quote that I found very, very interesting. And it says that if people cannot write well, they cannot think well. And if they cannot think well, others will do their thinking for them. I'm pretty sure that he meant other people, but maybe now it's, machines or artificial intelligence. So we need to learn how to use this critically. And well, to wrap up our discussion on ethics, I just want to say thank you very much for staying until the end of the conference. I hope you liked it. I don't know if there are any questions.
Thank you very much, Simon, for such an insightful presentation. All the tools and the structure that you have shared with us today, all of it having ethical principles at its core, definitely help us rethink our teaching practice and the role we have as educators. Now, I would like to open the discussion to our audience. I would like to invite some questions from our audience. Here we have one.
All right.
Should we just make students, let's say in face-to-face classes, should we just make our students write everything by hand in class to stop them from cheating with AI?
That's a very good question. I'm pretty sure that your institutions have already a policy for that. I would say it's a yes and no situation, because going completely back to pen and paper, it's like a temporary band-aid. AI will still be there. So the real goal is to teach your students how to think with AI and not let AI think for them, right? So writing by hand in class, of course, helps. It's great for checking their baseline skills, their the use of the comma, the punctuation, the grammar tenses, subject verb agreement, and all of that. But yes, we also need to consider that AI will not disappear, and it's a problem that's gonna have to be tackled at some point.
That's right, temporary band-aid, that is. And
Yes.
one last question before we finish. Now that you talked about plagiarism, if a student admits they have used ChatGPT just to find ideas or fix maybe spelling, is that considered plagiarism?
I feel like if they disclose that they used it, it wouldn't be plagiarism. The whole issue with plagiarism is claiming claiming someone else's work is as your own, right? So if ChatGPT does it, and then I say, no, I did it everything. I mean, no, you didn't. So yeah, you would have to disclose it. If you do, then and if it's allowed, then I would say it's totally fine.
That's right. Thank you very much, Simon, once again for sparkling so many ideas and reflection. Now, to all our audience, please remember to register your attendance using the QR code that will appear next on your screens. And remember, the certificates will be sent by email within 10 business days. Now we'll have the QR code in a minute for your attendance. Meanwhile, we look forward to seeing you again on June 24th for the third session of the ELT Training Sessions, which will be held in person at Universidad Ricardo Palma. Thank you all for your attendance. There it is. The link's already in the comments. Make sure you register your attendance. Once again, thank you very much and see you in our next session.